School District Work Session Agenda Meeting on Thursday, August 5th, 2021, being held in the West Mifflin Borough Building, Council Chambers, 1020 Lebanon Road, West Mifflin, PA. Meeting begins at 6:05 p.m. Opening exercises, pledge to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Ahern,
Here.
Alexandrov, Bennett.
Here.
Engler,
Here.
Kostelnik,
Here.
Mattis,
Here.
White,
Here.
DeSenza,
Here.
and Blazevich.
Here. Presentations, Dr. Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one presentation tonight. It is Nikki Vigna from Premier Power. Mrs. Vigna, would you please come up?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nikki Vigna here from Premier Power Solutions. I am your energy broker consultant. I'm a certified energy procurement professional. And we have been handling the borough's electric and natural gas procurement for many years now. I believe it's going maybe on 10 or 12, give or take a few years, maybe with someone else. We have been monitoring the market for the electric contract. You recently just began your last electric contract last month. But I'm coming to you tonight because watching the market and seeing different indicators, I believe we should enter into an additional extension of your contract at this time. This will not happen now. It will happen at the end of this contract that just started, which will end in December of 22. But due to certain market conditions, you have a chance now to lock in savings that I feel will not be there if we wait closer to the expiration date of this current contract. I don't know if I can pass these out. These are updated. That way. This just a few handouts that might kind of explain my rationale for you.
Judy, how long is the contract?
I'm sorry?
How long is the new contract?
The current contract is an 18-month contract. You entered into that contract, signed that in August of 2018, and it didn't start until June of 2021. I believe it was 18, let me double check that, maybe 19, hang on. Yeah, it was 18. That was well in advance of the delivery year. And I have included in your document something I wanted to point out about that because that was very smart to enter into that contract so soon before your last contract had expired. If you turn to, I put in your packet this page and there's a graph. It just says energy comparison. I'll explain that to you. Might help with this one. It says on the top of their trade date on your current contract, it goes from 6/21 to December of 22. You entered into that contract on August 16th of 2018, and that would run from 20 to 22 for 18 months, so June of 20 to December 22. I averaged 21 and 22 just for simplicity to get what the average rate was for the power that you contracted. It's power that's traded in a forward market. Compared to if you would have waited until July of 21 to enter into that contract. So the first line, if you see the trade date, it says $29.68 for calendar year 21 and $28.84 for calendar 22. That's what it was when you booked that contract back in 18. If you would have waited till July of this year, you would have booked that contract for $35.46 per megawatt hour for 21 and $33.49 for 22. So if you had an average difference of $5.22 per megawatt hour, and I just quantified that for you, by contracting early, you saved an additional $29,000 over the 18-month term, just in energy alone. So you were very smart to heed our advice and contract when you did. So I'm coming to you tonight with a similar presentation because on the bottom here, if you look, just over the last 2 weeks, what energy's been doing, climbing every day. It's been climbing pretty steadily due to some things that are changing, as we're going toward renewables and getting, fossil fuels out of the mix, relying more on natural gas. Natural gas is probably the biggest driver for pricing going up. We are exporting a lot of natural gas. Our storage is well below the 5-year average, and we are well below last year's storage even now, today. So demand is up, and, demand is up and supply is not. So even looking ahead now, to 22, 23, 23, 24, and 25 would be your next contract. So January 23, it would start. 3 weeks ago, we were trading at around the $30 mark, if you look on the bottom highlighted area there. And as of yesterday, we're gaining like, $32, $31. It's just going on the rise. So I feel that you are going to have your best shot of locking in savings if you contract now, rather than we wait, until the end of 22, you might be looking at $39 again, or, $36, what we're seeing for 21 and 22, if you look where they're trading right now today. It's very likely that these prices could bump up to there. So you're already contracted for 21 and 22, which is great, but you see as you get near the term, the pricing starts to spike. And I included a graph in here just to kind of show you the years that I'm looking at for you, and then this is the years you're already locked in. You don't have to worry about that because you already have a forward contract and you locked in a low price, but I want to keep this here instead of it spiking up there, next year. Yes, Judy?
When would we have to take this decision to take advantage of these costs?
I would suggest as soon as possible. I think your next voting meeting is next week. That's what I would suggest. And my recommendation right now, I have an offer from Constellation Energy. They will give you a 36-month offer, but they even have a pretty good 48-month offer, which is my recommendation. You can lock this low energy in for the next 4 years. It's going to save you at today's pricing about $7,000 a year, each year over year for a 4-year term. Yes.
Does that include the gross receipt tax?
Yes, gross receipts tax is 6.27%, and that is included in all my pricing.
And this is all fixed.
It's fixed, yes. The only thing that will change upon delivery year is if they change the capacity rate or the transmission rate. We can't, that is a regulated component in your price, but 70% of your contract price is energy, and that's the only thing you have control over when you contract that in the market. So that's why I'm here today.
And obviously, this is like a commodity where it could drop. But if
Yes.
we lock in,
Yes.
then we're locked in at a higher rate, correct?
You-
Is that how that-
Yeah, it could do that, but all market indicators are not headed in that direction. This administration, leaning on renewables, that coming into the mix, and like I said, the natural gas pricing, could the market drop? I wish I had a crystal ball. And I wish, we could have had a mid-meeting that I could have locked you in a couple of weeks ago. That I don't have. What I'm afraid of is just like the last contract, that we wait and then you end up with no savings. And then I have to talk to you about why your price is increasing. This is a bird in the hand.
Okay, well, thank you for coming, but if that ever happens, don't hesitate to call. I mean, we can always, if we're gonna save thousands of dollars, we have to meet on a Tuesday. By all means. call.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you can contract tonight, that would be my recommendation, but I don't know what the rules
I
are.
don't think we can.
I don't think so.
There's no stipulation in the contract that if the market does go down, then we would be able to
No.
reduce our.
This is a forward contract. You are locking it in, and the supplier is hedging that price for you into the future.
And I guess the 48-month is cheaper than the 36.
It is slightly higher, but there's more risk out there that I believe the supplier is taking. I want to say the difference is maybe $200 a year. So we can do the 36-month price. I will refresh pricing next week. But
What's the pricing based off of? Is it an index of some sort?
yeah, it's based off of, it's traded every day. It's oh my gosh, CEM, I think is the market. It's not based off of the NYMEX, but that's the natural gas market that is traded every day out of Chicago. It's Chicago Mercantile Market Exchange. And that's just the wholesale part of it. There's a lot of moving parts to electricity. Like Debbie had mentioned, the gross receipts tax is included in there, all your ancillaries, line losses, transmission and capacity. So energy is 70% of that price, and then everything else makes up the rest.
I have a question, Tricia. There's a ton of ratifying in this agenda for next week.
don't advertise this as a publicly voting.
We're not voting tonight.
We authorize her
Should we authorize her
Not
to
in
make
a
a deal?
contract situation, that hiring, firing, and contracting, putting you into a long-term contract is not something that should be ratified. That should only be ratifying it, truly cannot wait.
We're ratifying because we're gonna save thousands of dollars.
What are the chances of this going up significantly between now and then?
Again, I wish I had a crystal ball. I'm showing you this graph here. 3 weeks ago, we lost about 3% of savings, in a couple of weeks. My hope is that we have some cooler weather come in, here, I'm praying about it. We have some cooler weather come in and we can make up, maybe another 1,000 by next week. Let's everybody get together.
The other issue, Mr. Bennett, is, when you ratify, you are taking away the public's opportunity to discuss this prior to vote. And, we never do that. We want them to vote. A lot of times when we're ratifying, maybe it's a personnel issue that we've discussed in the back room on a personnel case or something like that. It's a routine bill that we've already pre-authorized that we're required to pay under our prior contract or obligation. To enter into a contract without allowing the public to address it on the agenda would be inappropriate.
I don't wanna break the rules.
I don't want to
I
break the rules
understand.
either.
No, I understand the urgency, I mean, I also know that these are future, these are future energy prices, right? Like
This is
4 years
where-
from-
Yes,
4
this
years
is
from
where
now.
the market is trading, yes.
I don't know what weather today has to do with that.
It just has influence on general market, you're right, it does influence the near-term pricing more than anything, but when we see pricing even go up in the near term, we usually see it
How
fall.
negotiable are these rates?
Okay,
Like,
so
are you gonna give us a number, or can we talk about it and work it out?
to come up with these best numbers, we sent out an RFP at the end of June.
Okay.
15 suppliers responded to the RFP. Of the 15 suppliers that responded, Constellation New Energy was the front runner for all terms except for one.
And that's what's on the second sheet.
Yes. And if you look on that second sheet, of the 15 suppliers, the delta between the lowest and the highest is a penny. A penny a kilowatt hour, when you're talking 5 cents a kilowatt hour, is a lot. So, for them to come in that low, they're being very aggressive in Duquesne Light right now, and I don't, I'm pushing on them to hold pricing and doing everything I can to keep it as low as possible. They know they could have a voting meeting next week and, working with us to
Do
keep
you
it
work
low.
with the incumbent, do you let them know?
I'm sorry, yes, we did let the incumbent know and they could not, come close. WGL, suppliers, they come in and out of market and aggressiveness depending on their plan, and WGL was not able to come close. We always give them a last look, and they could not meet the number.
So you don't have the 48 month on here.
I should have it on the new one that I sent you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, can you bring it next week?
On the one I just passed out, that is the 48 month as of today. So,
No problem.
on that handout I just gave you,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
When, are you gonna do another RFP?
Right now, so I think your solicitor has to look over the contract, to send out another RFP to all the suppliers will kind of put us, what if if I refresh this with 15 suppliers next week and another one comes up just slightly higher, I doubt that because I have been refreshing with Constellation. Would you be able to approve a different contract before that without reviewing it ahead of time? I just don't want to risk.
I understand, these prices, like a lot of these prices expire.
Yes.
I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, and the only reason, I sent out this RFP months in advance and we've been working, and then I had met with the business manager and Mr. Souls 3 weeks ago. So at that point, we pushed everyone, whoever was the best. We did not disclose this to them, they don't know that,
Right.
that we would award them the contract, knowing that we were coming into this meeting and having to wait for the voting session. So that's why, and I just gave the most up-to-date pricing, after that meeting from Constellation. But if you'd like me to send it out, I can.
No, I don't think that's necessary, I think it's okay with getting the contract language to the solicitor and Mr. Souls for review, and then we can talk about it next week and vote on it. Because we kind of need to see the contract before we can actually make
Right,
this
and I
decision.
I didn't bring it for signature, this is non-executable, but I do have a copy of the contract, I can also send it to you electronically, if you'd like to review it.
I love that.
Sure.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, the only thing that would change on there would be, the final term and price. That is a 48-month term contract, but the price could change. That price that is on that contract reflects this document that I handed out today.
Anybody else have any questions?
Any other questions for me?
Thank you very
Okay, well,
much.
thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure.
Uh, Agenda item 3, addendum items. Mr. Sol. Those items. Board hearing of decisions is next week. 5, information items.
Mr. President, the only informational item is regarding the first day of school, which will be Tuesday, August 24th.
6, board secretary, business managers report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under A, Board of Directors, we have 2 items. Number 1, this will be the second reading of the 200 policy series. And the second one is the first reading for 300 policy series. Under Finance is the real estate tax fund, tax refund. And C, purchasing contract, there is nothing. D, for the minutes, are the June 17th and the 22nd meeting. Under E are the reports. We have the tax collector's report, the treasurer's report, secretary receipts, student activities, attendance, and officer's report. If you can see, there are a few number of reports that are not completed, but they will be, however, for the next meeting. Under refunds subtracted from expenditures, you see the June and July. G, invoices, we have 3. 3 for legal tax services and 1 for the solicitor. Under construction fund and expense account, there's nothing. And for bills payable is the P card and cash disbursements report for the month of June and July. Requisitions, all the requisitions probably approved for June and July. And the second item, the executive session. There were 2 executive sessions that were held and have been properly documented. Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Do you know, are we paying for everybody who takes the AP tests or,
I'm not sure of that. I can get back to you.
okay,
You're talking about the AP exam for like.
Yes.
seniors and stuff? I
we're
know I
just paying
paid.
for select students? Okay, I wasn't sure.
I don't think it's a for us.
Okay. I know we do pay for some of
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure if we were on there.
it's not all.
It didn't look like a very big amount was why I was asking.
Anybody else have questions? 7, district operations.
Yes, Mr. President, under A and B, we're asking the board to recommend and approve our school physician and our school dentist. Under C, we'd like to approve the 3 psychologists for the 21-22 school year. Under D, we have a list of new handbooks, or updated handbooks, we're asking the board to approve for the 21-22 school year.
Any questions? 8, superintendent's report.
Wait, I have one question. Looking over that athletic handbook, do we have a faculty manager now? It mentions the contract for faculty manager.
We have that in the handbook, if we would get one, we do
We
not have
don't
one.
have one,
We
that's
don't have one currently.
I wasn't sure.
Any other questions? 8, superintendent's report.
Under student services, we have nothing under A. Student activities, we have nothing under letter B. C, buildings and grounds. We have a request for the middle school track field for youth football practice, and that runs through June and July, through August, September, October, and November. a turf football game requested by youth football. That's August 14th, September 11th, October 9th, August 28th, and September 25th. And that concludes my report.
Turf football, that's the.
That's the statement.
So nothing with professional personnel, non-certified personnel, athletic personnel, substitutes, conferences. Board president's correspondence, I've had several emails from parents concerning mask policies, and going back to school safety plans, which I think we're covering our committees. That was all the correspondence that I had. Executive session discussion will be after this meeting. Board reports, committees.
Okay. We'd like to start with the Safety and Transportation Committee. We have reached out to PA Coach, which is our bus transportation service provider, and we're waiting to get the drivers' clearances and so forth to put them on the agenda. There's been quite a turnover with bus drivers, so we're hoping to get that list to you by next week. Moving on to buildings and grounds, we've got quite a few projects going on. We have the Homeville wall. Ms. Well, would you like to give an update on the wall?
Yes, they were supposed to start the wall this past Monday, but I spoke with, the claims office and, they got delayed at another job, so they will be starting this Monday. And, Kelly at Dave's office, she told them, school starts in 2 weeks, so they said they realize that and they're gonna try their hardest to get that wall underway done. So, I'm planning on going over there on Monday when they start, just talk to them about the fence and, the materials that they're gonna have and how they're gonna stage and, locate their materials and their people, so.
Sandy, I can't remember, in the proposal, was there a timeframe for?
They did have a timeframe and from what I have at my office, when it was made, but I believe it was by middle of September. But I don't hold me on that, I can't find out.
They did mark the concrete today.
Pardon me?
They did mark the
They
concrete.
marked it, okay, oh, thanks for that.
Is there any consideration for noise during the school year?
And I will find that out Monday as well.
Like if they could get whatever demo needed is being done before the school year starts.
I have it ready.
Assuming that's.
I don't know what they do.
I don't know.
I don't know if they turn it down.
But I would just make sure that that's part of the consideration as they're planning what they're doing, to try and get some of that stuff taken care of earlier.
Are they handling the fence in the front as well, Sandy?
Now, that is an insurance claim, the fence in the front, and I know Mr. Esper was supposed to was in touch with our insurance company because that was hit, on that August 17th date that, somebody hit into that fence and pool, so their insurance is supposed to be taking care of that. I have an estimate for it, and I believe Mr. Esper sent that to their insurance company, so. We should just go ahead and repair it,
Yeah.
and turn it into that, so. With approval, I'll do that.
So we put that on the agenda, go ahead with their repair of the fence and then submit the bill to the insurance company.
Maybe to get, you got an estimate.
I do have an estimate.
I mean, if we
We could bring it up.
look at it, I'd like to get it done first.
Yeah, I would like to know whether we're going to get reimbursed. That's a risk. That's a risk.
It's 4,000 something.
Is it safety hazard?
Yes. Right from the school.
And I'll check with Mr. Esper when he gets back too, to find out if he has heard anything from the
Sure.
insurance.
Is that, are they welding? Is that what they're doing?
It's welding and.
Because I saw a vehicle up there, yesterday. A welding vehicle, or a company up there
At that fence.
at Homeville.
Nobody told me they were gonna be.
Yeah, I
there,
did
so
see one up there.
We'll check that.
Yeah.
was probably around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Any other wall or fence questions?
At the high school, we had the girls' locker room ceiling and the swim locker room starting to cave in, starting to blow. We tried to turn that into the shorts, they denied that through Mrs. Wells and Mr. Cox's effort. Mr. Cox went up over the last few days and got it pulled back up to where it needs to be. Upon its completion, we will have the engineer come in and certify that everything is safe and sound with that. The problem actually happened, they suspended that ceiling, which is a solid ceiling, it's not a drop ceiling. Cantilever 2x4 metal studding over a beam and wired down to hold this up. And what actually happened was the 2x4 studding that they used cantilever came loose and it all started blowing down. Like I said, Mr. Cox did a nice job anchoring it and putting the appropriate thread on and so forth.
So what was the reason behind the denial? Or they just rushed into corrosion? Yeah. Just
Age.
natural, it wasn't.
Yeah, just age.
Thank goodness for him. Yeah, and that was the only locker room that had that application.
Yeah.
But it was the girls' gym locker room. So it sat like in the middle of all the other three, but it was the only one like that.
All
He
the
had
other
to
ones.
replace some of the structural steel too, because it had twisted. So they replaced some of that as well.
Next thing, the CB, out of Clear Park, the fencing, we received a quote for the fencing, to fence off the playground area behind the building. I'd like to explain what that's gonna do, Mrs. Wells.
Yes, there's a portion of it that goes at the very end of the building. It goes from the existing fence over to the building, so there's some the ducks in the ground, the vents in the ground. The grades, they're going to be behind that fence now, so the kids won't be able to crawl on top of those grades. And that's one portion. There'll be a large gate in it though, in case we need to get a vehicle back there. And then the other portion is on the other side and kind of in between the classrooms and the sidewalk, and it goes, and there'll be a gate there as well. And then the other portion is finishing off the playground with the 5-foot fence. Because right now it's kind of like 3-sided. So now that will be totally enclosed with a gate on it too.
And we had that estimate due to the situation we had in the school year, as a safety concern. And that was estimated to be about $7,200. So we're gonna ask the committee to go ahead and let us put that on the agenda for approval.
Fine by me.
Yep.
The marquee at the high school. I don't know if you noticed, but it's not working right now. During our last storm, we had a lightning strike. It hit somewhere between the guard shack, the marquee, and the trees, which blew it out. So we did get a letter from Nevco, who's the manufacturer of the marquee. And they did say what they see is wrong is consistent with the lightning strike. So we have turned this over to the insurance company to look at. Anything else I missed there, Mrs. Wells?
No, yeah, we need to, obviously get that fixed. He was in today and talking about it, and hopefully the insurance company will turn around quickly with that one, because it's gonna take a while to get parts and get the gentleman that fixes it here to make those repairs.
Okay, so would it require a full replacement, it would be something that could be fixed?
Yes.
That's good.
Is there a cost that we have, do we have an estimated cost?
We do not have the estimated cost yet.
I mean, is it,
It's insurance,
Is-
what do we just have like a, or something? If it's covered. We don't know if it's covered.
That's where I just drove by, I was wondering.
It works, then it goes off. It works. Then it goes off. As you go by, you'll start to see there's areas where it's not on at all,
Okay.
even when it's on. It could possibly be a whole new marquee. If that's the case, they have said it's outdated, the equipment needs updated and so forth. But the nice thing is, Silver Ladder, Nevco put it in, they're able to put another unit in, same size, upgrade it with minimal.
If we get us a brighter one, we'll be able to see it from the mountain.
So we will keep you aware of that situation. Backflow valves. Mr. Rogers, you want to talk about the backflow valves?
Yeah, every year, we have our backflows. The water company starts sending these, letters out. It amazes me. I probably have a stack like this. They send first notice, second notice, third notice, and I've gone over these, the gentleman that does these for us has gone over them. We try to match up. The water company has different ones than we have, and we try to tell them, no, they've been replaced, but these are the ones we have now. But needless to say, he's done the testing of all the backflows, and 3 of them failed. And one of them is the main vault in front of the high school, so that is right beside the marquee. So you've seen trucks up there, Johnson Controls, people thought the marquee was being fixed, and it wasn't, it was the water company. So that one, that's 2 people going down there, they use oxygen, I mean, it's regulated, and they have to replace that. So the water will be shut off to the whole campus. That was supposed to happen tomorrow, they didn't get the parts in. So we're gonna have to talk about it. I'm waiting to hear if they get the parts and get it done tomorrow, which would be ideal since nobody's on the campus tomorrow. But, if they don't get it done tomorrow, we're gonna have to talk and coordinate the best time. It's gonna take about 3 hours that we wouldn't have any water up there. So with the camp starting and, everybody starting to come back, we're gonna have to coordinate a time. The other 2, one is, they can be done during the regular day. One is at the, stadium, and one of them is at the middle school. The middle school one's the fire.
So are they repairing or replacing?
The stadium one, I believe, is just the repair, and that's the one that controls our sprinklers on the practice field. That was about $970. The middle school's, around that same cost, and the one at the, main vault is $5,747, and that is the number 2 check assembly for an 8-inch pipe.
Do you have any idea how old it is?
How old?
Yes.
I don't know how old it is.
How would they go? How would they do this?
This would just be under our contracted building repair on the budget, the general budget. We've had to replace and repair other ones at different times too.
I just didn't know if we voted to move forward with these. I don't remember these being on the agenda. I don't know if we
No,
did.
we just found out about it.
Oh, okay.
We don't have a choice either.
Yeah, right, no, I get that, I get that.
Last thing we have a proposal from PJ Services LLC as electric contractor for the district. He's proposing to $65 an hour plus whatever parts we need. And this is the gentleman who's been working on our doors and helping us get those underway and so forth. So we're asking if the committee would like to put that on the agenda as a proposal, to accept that proposal, in case we need electrical work, we can call this year.
Is there any guesstimate of how long it's gonna take him?
This will be at need, that there's no set time
Oh, okay.
or needs him immediately right now.
We're just gonna have him up on retainer?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why There's no retainer.
No retainer.
No, there's no
Just
retainer.
If he comes, we pay,
Okay.
or it's the agreed rate.
And what that it does
I thought you
is-
meant he was fixing something right now. That's what I
Yeah,
thought
but
too.
it's, somebody that, we don't have an electrician on the staff anymore, and, if the job gets steep, I mean, we don't want to be avoiding the rules for repairs for the,
You have to be licensed,
yeah, for the,
certified to do a lot of this.
correct,
major
and for
work.
the,
We have a threshold for that,
The threshold.
work would be
correct.
bid out.
And that's avoids that, because, he could go to Homeville and do something, he could go to high school and do something, and that all could add up. And we don't want somebody thinking that we're avoiding that threshold, so.
I know, like Joe sent me something that we have to hire an electrician to do a hookup on the 2K light issue. I don't know if you know about that. I actually brought it to me because I was gonna ask Joe about it.
That's it.
Yeah, so for
That's where
the
the
relocation and reattachment, they want us to hire internally, that's what the information was. Do you think this guy would be capable of doing that project, or is that too excessive?
That's the entrances to the high school. 43. I would probably go with a better people.
I don't know if it's gonna meet the threshold of, maybe we ask him, just to give us a ballpark estimate, whether we're gonna have to bid that out or not, but it's my understanding that we won't have electricity the day they do this, which is, my concern is that we're running out of time, and that's why I wanted, we just got this like last week, and I wanted to talk to Joe, like, my concern is we can't have no power.
And we'll reach out to them, because, we told them in our meeting, they have to give us heads up, I mean, we have to
I was gonna
coordinate
say, is the
everything.
Turnpike Commission reimbursing us?
So it's my understanding that they were doing the work and that they were doing it, and we get this email that says we have to do it.
Just the, I think that's the connection. It's just like.
Due to the reconnection of the utilities.
All would be reimbursed.
It says here, Duquesne Light will be commencing distribution relocation project on August 1st. We got this, I think, like the day before. It says due to the reconnection of the utility line, Westland Area School District will be responsible for the hiring of the contractor to perform the work. There's currently a contractor working in Westland that will provide the quickest turnaround and limited interruptions. You provide below their contact information.
So the recommended.
Approximately, it will be complete September, October.
Who's that son? I mean, that I can reach out to them.
That's the
Who they
project
meet
manager.
with.
Yeah, that's that Keystone acquisition.
Okay.
Since the reconnection of the obligation of the project is not paid expressly, all associated costs for reconnections will be covered by Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission. So, but it sounded like, we had to hire them, pay them, and then submit for reimbursement for those understanding. My concern is now, say September, October,
Yeah.
when Joe and I had these initial conversations and we did the easement agreement, if you recall, they told us they were doing that in August. And Joe made very clear that we could not be interrupted from school. And so now they're saying in September, October, how's that gonna work with our plan? So I know Joe has been working on it, I just didn't know.
We'll definitely call them and reach out to them, because I know that the one project manager has now got promotion, and we have somebody else. So I talked to them the other day about the tree issue, because that was a little confusing too. They were cutting the trees down and leaving everything. But, so I do have a contact.
I would just give Sandy that and tell her to contact that project manager,
Well, she was on the email, her and her.
and then go with the company, they're recommending somebody, obviously, they do this work with. the
That's the quickest turnaround.
That's the quickest one, and maybe they don't even, we don't have to do anything, we just have to somehow have an agreement with that company, and then they do money.
So they check on a rate of a generator.
That's the one thing I would ask.
When we talked to them, they acted like they would accommodate us, that it would be on Saturday or Sunday,
That's
or, when we would.
But they also told us it wasn't done before school started.
This was supposed to be done 8 years ago.
It's gonna be done when it's done, but when it's done, we'll wanna make sure that we don't need disruptions.
I'm sorry, I thought Joe would be here and I was gonna have to talk to him.
Yeah.
already at the end, but I didn't wanna not bring that up when we talk.
Is the committee okay with putting this on the agenda?
Backflow.
No,
PJ Shirts.
PJ Services as our electrician.
Yes.
He has all the proper insurances. Workman's comp.
Anything else under buildings and grounds? Finance, I'd like to ask the committee if they will recommend putting the electricity contract extension on the agenda for next Thursday.
Yes.
Athletics and activities. We have 3 handbooks, and I believe they were listed on our agenda. The athletic handbook, the band, and the band auxiliary handbook for approval. Use of facilities, we did put a letter out to our coaches, and we gave them rights to use the facilities upon notification to the AD, and then the AD would also let Mrs. Ross knows as far as what goes and so forth. So they don't have to do a facility request if they want to schedule an activity or a practice, not to try to expedite that process. We're starting to getting requests for outside organizations to use our facilities again. Just want to know where the committee stands, if that's something we want to look at right now or hold off on due to the variants and so forth and the uptick in some of the other situations.
These outside facilities?
Yeah, that's what, the outside, inside.
Outside organizations use our inside facilities, such as dance recitals and so forth like that.
Yeah, I'm not on the committee, but I think we're on the board.
Or we even including our community basketball league in that? Is that somebody that would fit into that category? Because I'm sure they have to probably prepare one way or the other soon.
I mean,
we look and see what other districts are doing, or if there's still gonna be more guidelines coming out and stuff.
whatever our guidelines are, I'm inclined
Follow,
to
yeah.
having them follow our guidelines for
Right, absolutely.
inside activities, because we're using our facilities for school, unless we're remote.
Right.
There's no reason anybody else couldn't use our facilities,
Agreed.
because they're full.
Yeah, I think there should be a protocol set and put in place that they need to follow and understand.
Whatever guidelines
Yeah.
we
The only thing that other districts have looked at is upping the price a little bit, because obviously there's
sanitation.
heavier sanitation with the rentals than, you know, sometimes we might actually have to bring someone in extra to help with things.
Yeah, I hate to deny it and put, I hate to deny anybody anything. If we're already gonna be able, as long as we're using that, I don't see why anybody else can use it.
Agreed.
We are trying to organize a booster president meeting next Thursday, hopefully roughly between 4:30, as the policy dictates, so that will take place. I think, through Mrs. Bucko's assistance, I helped you organize that. I think we have about 10, 12 booster groups, that's all.
And that's next Thursday.
We're trying to organize that for next Thursday.
You know, 10 to 12.
Yes.
Where would that be going at?
We'll probably hold it over at the secondary campus.
You guys, are you gonna have an agenda and everything for that?
Yeah, we're gonna go with policy 918 and all that, we'll go through that. Specific request.
Could you send the board that agenda, just so we know everything? That's okay.
I was gonna say, we'll have an executive board meeting literally right after, like, just give us an update on how it goes.
We can come.
You're more welcome.
Yeah.
Don't forget to invite.
Lastly, asked the committee recommended to put the baseball annual spring trip on the agenda for approval, for them to move forward with the planning and the fundraising for that. Yes.
Yep.
Under, anything else under athletics and activities? Technology, we have received the majority of our E-rate materials. We have them on the high school campus. The only thing we do not have yet is our core, which someone help me out there a little bit. The core switches for installation. They're supposed to be here on August 14th. We have all the switches, but apparently the cores are the backbone. So they're due to come in on the 14th, and our network will then be switched over and updated. We will also have the technology for the IT department here next week to do a presentation, let you know where we're at on that.
With just E-rate,
The whole thing.
the whole technology.
We're in the process of going from iBoss, which was one of our problems last year, to Lives as our filtering system. So they're in the process of doing that as well too.
Because I was going to request a state of our technology so that if we should go remote, that we are up and running day one without the issues that we had last year.
Be here next week.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, they could give us an update on that.
It's about that. It's about-
The one-to-one, I think one-to-one update.
Anything else under technology? Sean, did I miss anything on technology? Okay, under education, we'll go to the second one first, handbooks. We're gonna ask for the committee to recommend putting these handbooks on the agenda for approval. We have the attendance handbook, the elementary handbook, the 4-5 building handbook, the high school handbook, the middle school handbook, cyber academy, and the special education.
I agree to those.
Yes.
Before we get into the next one, Duquesne City Schools officially got word that they can move forward with their plan of starting to pull back their students. So this year, the seventh graders will not be coming up to the middle school. They will be staying in Duquesne to receive their education. As we move forward in this process, next year, then the eighth grade will then go. I think it would behoove us to go ahead and put a resolution together to protect us as far as them coming back and something happening where they're going to be pushed back on us. Is that something we could do, Mrs. Damasio?
Yeah, so, if you remember the initial court case from where I can see, dealt with the high school. After that was done and established, there was just kind of agreement that we would extend that to the middle school. I certainly think that the middle school isn't tied into the order as much as the high school is. So I think they'd have to come back to us and back to the state for approval to send them back here. But being that we were, and I know they'll dispute this, but being that we were not really informed or part of this process, we were kind of just dictating what was happening. I think we need to lay out clear rules that if they wish to send the kids back, they have to do X, Y, and Z, which would be notice how far in advance, have to come to a board meeting, would have to have a meeting with us in the Department of Ed. We would have to lay out what the costs would be, things like that. I think we need to lay out a resolution and notify them clearly, send it to them and say, we're doing this, because we always wish them the best success, but if they're not successful, that's going to put those students at a great disadvantage. And that will need to be discussed on how that's going to transition back. I think one of the things that Dr. Solomon would certainly require is that we have better communication on the transfer of special education students, and how that's going to be implemented in transferring if they would come back. So I think that there are things we learned our lessons on that we would want to make clear if there would be a second time around. And so I wholeheartedly agree that we should do that.
Is that something your office can do?
Absolutely.
Any
policy and then we'll go back.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Policy, 200 policies are on the agenda for a second reading. Policies 300 is on for the first reading, and Mr. Massey and I met, and she has updated and reworded 339, as we talked about in policy committee meeting. And also, we brought back policy 354, which PSBA asked us to do, but we want to keep pre-employment drug testing. So we're going to keep that one. So that's it. Those are the only changes.
Matt, did you get access to the 600s? Were you able to,
We all do now.
we all have it
On
on
OneDrive.
OneDrive? Okay, because I looked earlier. I couldn't
Today.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Maybe it is.
That's what
I'd
I
have
kept
to,
missing.
we'll look at it again at the back, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But Joe, it's a joke. We'll go ahead and have him because he's not there.
Very good.
I know he is.
Okay, jumping back up to the education, the reopening plan and mask, unmasked, optional, mandatory. Ms. Solomon and I have been involved, Dr. Solomon and I have been involved in a couple of different meetings with local superintendents as well as the IU and the health department. And their guidance is we need to follow what CDC says. So, CDC is not mandating. They're highly recommended, and I believe they just changed their verbiage on the CDC webpage. And it actually is specific to teachers. Update, given new evidence on the B.1.1.1617.2 Delta variant, CDC has updated the guidance for fully vaccinated people. The CDC recommends universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. Children should return to full-time in-person learning in the fall with layered prevention strategies. Again, recommends. Through our conversations with superintendents in the area, I believe Allegheny County, 61% of the schools are optional, and the other 39% are implemented. So, as a board, we are willing to do as you see fit.
Our students are gonna have to wear,
Based on what the pediatricians are saying, I would recommend masks up to age 12.
I agree with that. Our students are gonna be required. There's two words here, it's gonna be recommended and required. They're required to wear masks on the bus through the federal statute through September 15th or something. If they don't renew that, then that requirement will go on. So everybody who's riding the bus is gonna wear a mask.
So I 100% agree with you as far as the 12 years old mandatory. But then I think Pitt, Duquesne, AAP, they're mandating masks for college kids. Why are we not mandating masks for high school kids? I'm not.
I think we're having a conversation. We didn't do it.
It's a question I asked my head.
Yeah, I think there's a conversation. What I fear most is going back to Ms. Stomach's concern about one-to-one education, if we have to go to remote. I don't want to.
No, I'll buy each one of them a bubble.
Right. That's my biggest.
And again, the exceptions have come out. If we are fully masked, we don't have to quarantine, we don't have to contact trace, so that means there's no closures. If we are optional, we have to do those things. So there could be a possibility of a closure.
As much as nobody wants to wear a mask, no, nobody wants to wear a mask.
And this is just indoors.
Yeah.
The recommendations are in.
I think,
You go to school.
No, I get it, Tom.
I don't know. My opinion is there's no better advocate for a child than their parent. who are the nine of us to say, be a parent for the 2,500 kids we have in the school district? I think that should be a family decision, a parent decision. We should follow the recommendation of the CDC. They know better than we do.
It is, but that same parent that doesn't make the kid wear a mask will be the first one complaining while we're closed for 3 weeks.
Well, you're operating in hypotheticals that's a given, that's gonna happen. What?
The school says if we don't wear masks, we're gonna be ordered to close if there's no.
I mean, if there's an outbreak.
We had it last year.
I think it's a given.
Is the,
I hope not.
whenever people, when kids are wearing masks, is it gonna be at all times in the classroom sitting down? Or is it like when you go to a restaurant, once you sit down and you're in your place, you take it off?
With the CDC guidelines is all.
Unless
All
you're.
times, as soon as,
So Jim, so let's talk about one set of students, well, because I think that's a different set of students who cannot currently be vaccinated. And let's talk about them specifically before we talk about other students who have an option of being vaccinated. And is this group in agreement that 12 and under, it's gonna be required to wear a mask?
No, I believe it should be optional district-wide.
I believe it should be a mask.
I believe 12 and under should be a mask.
I agree with that.
I think that, I have to almost agree with Tony, with being a parent, who am I to tell you what to do with your child? However, I think the decision's gonna be made for us.
I was gonna say, once the governor tells us they're mandatory, no matter what we do.
So why should we do it for them? Why should we wait until that happens?
It's health and safety, that's part of the rapid side, part. I think that they should be mandated plans. I don't want us to have to close because it's a huge inconvenience for parents with daycare, and that stipulates a lot of children returning. They don't want that interruption.
All ages, Gina, or certain ages.
Well, all ages.
I think that everyone should have the option to go to the families. That be amendment?
I'm sorry, it's that.
I don't know what that was. Yeah. Yeah, I think it should be the option up to the parents and families.
With the board sort of being a little bit split here, we do have a survey ready to go tomorrow.
I'd be interested to see what the community also has. to say.
I think we should,
Yeah.
Yes, I
100%.
agree, as the parents.
And we will have those results, and then we'll put it in the all-call. These results will be brought back to you to make a decision next Thursday.
So with that being said, and I'm asking you because I don't know the rules. We got a letter today in our office, any new employee has to be vaccinated. Can we mandate that? No. That's my question.
You can't mandate that, that would have to come from the state, and, there's a lot of debate going on. First of all, the first hurdle is, it has to be cleared by the FDA. So they can't mandate any kind of vaccination that hasn't been cleared by the FDA. Now, Pfizer is very close, I understand, it didn't happen maybe next couple hours, in a couple of hours, you know. They're very close to being approved. Once they're approved, there can be vaccinated mandates, because it's been over that hurdle. So I think once that happens, you will see that it will start in private sectors, I'm sure hospitals and things like that.
Yep.
The next step would be the state. So, we do require certain vaccinations for students to come to school. There are certain exemptions for those, and I think those same things will happen. There will be either a statewide mandate for school students, for teachers, for staff, but there will be those same exemptions, that existed, always for everyone else. The caveat is though, when there was the smallpox or whatever, rubella vaccination, if you don't get it, you don't wear a mask, right? So that'll be the difference here is, are we gonna require you, if you meet one of those exemptions, to wear a mask if you're not able to get the vaccine? So that's the little caveat that I think they'll have to work through. But as of right now, as a school district, Nobody's taking that method where they're going to require vaccination, you legally cannot until the FDA clears it. I expect that to happen very soon, it may happen before our next meeting. But that's only that one vaccine. Pfizer, so somebody got the Moderna vaccination or the Johnson & Johnson, which our teachers, I believe, most of them got the Johnson & Johnson, because that's what the county distributed to them. That would have to be a question.
I'm sorry if this was answered. Is this decision incorporating our staff also? So that they would follow the, so if we decide it's
To wear masks.
up to 12 years old, if you're teaching that age level, you're masked also?
Our teachers all were vaccinated, or had the opportunity to be vaccinated, so I believe if you're vaccinated, they would be fine if they were not masked.
Well,
When that comes
that, yeah, that comes back.
Students that might be vaccinated, we're gonna make them wear masks.
Under
Yeah.
12, they're not applying.
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but we're talking about.
I thought we were talking about under 12.
I think we should be consistent, and I don't think that's fair to our teachers to say, because you teach in this building, you're not required to wear a mask, but because you teach this grade level, you have to.
Or a 13-year-old that happens to be in a class with 12-year-olds.
Well, I don't think that's what it said. I think he said that it could be, that teacher's choice.
I understand, I don't know, but so you're gonna say the teacher doesn't have to wear it, but the students do?
Teachers not.
Was that your policy? I guess what Mr. Sendin asked me for clarification. Are we going to say that all unvaccinated people need to wear masks?
Yeah, I mean, so now you're saying people out.
6 to 12, right? And those would also include high school students that have not received their vaccination. Or are we just gonna say we're doing 6 to 12 and high school's gonna be optional, teachers are gonna be optional? That's why I think that's what he's asking is for some clarification.
There's a higher agency in the CDC who are educated to make these decisions, and they're telling you it's recommended. We're sitting here, and we're gonna say, we know better than them.
Well, I don't think that we are. I think we are
Should
taking,
we recommend it?
Recommended isn't mandated, there's a different language there.
My recommendation is to make it consistent.
On the survey.
Exactly, there's no
Everybody-
consistency.
Either everybody's masked or those that are unvaccinated are masked.
so.
Just because you're vaccinated.
Yeah, hold on, I want to hear what Gina just said. What did you just say?
I asked Mr. Souls if, on the survey, it would explain the parameters, that if the children wear masks, we would not be forced to close. So the parents understand fully what we're asking, or what we're trying to
I think that's a huge bargaining chip. I think it's
Yeah.
huge. I mean,
Yeah.
I know
Closing is.
parents would rather wear a mask when you close down,
Absolutely.
especially if there's no at-home party.
That's what I said, it's May, we were
We run around.
running around like crazy, it's now August 5th. By the time August 12th rolls around next week, you're gonna be a whole new set of
Yeah, I don't want
numbers.
to sit here.
Sure,
and wait.
agreed.
Well, they're gonna lower the 12-year-old
Exactly.
status, that I believe breathe, and they're
Yeah,
trying to do that.
I can agree with you. We mandate it for everybody. Don't pick and choose who gets to wear a mask. Because you're always gonna see fake ID cards being made.
So, I mean, while we're discussing, so from my understanding, based on what you were saying, if you're a teacher who's been vaccinated, just say, let's say hypothetically, the whole district has to wear a mask. But as a teacher, you're vaccinated, you have the option to take it off. Does the student have an option to take it off if they're above the age of 12
I'm
and
not worried,
vaccinated?
and don't take this the wrong way, I'm not worried about the teachers, I'm worried about the students. The teachers, I mean, our responsibility is the students.
Yeah, I mean, the teachers they're responsible for themselves. And Tony, let me read something to you, Tony.
I don't think that that's how our teaching staff works. I mean, I think you have to consider them.
No, I think
I
a
would be
teaching adult,
consistent between.
Yeah, I would not make a different designation.
no,
You know,
I'm
employee and
fine with
student.
mandating it through the whole school.
I
But
understand.
what I mean is I'm here worried about the students. If an adult wants to fight about not wearing a mask, then, I mean, I do it every day. I don't think the kids should have a choice.
And I think Mrs. Kostelnik is absolutely right. This is a moving target. These are temporary guidelines.
So,
2 weeks from now, it could be, the CDC comes out and says, you don't have substantial spread, you are free of this thing, and our masks go away.
so again, why don't we just follow what they're saying now? Why are,
I want to read to you what they say. I just want to read to you, and you tell me whether you think this is required or recommended.
Well, I can tell you it's not required.
So due to the circulating and highly contagious Delta variant, CDC recommends universal, so I think that means teachers, staff, everybody. Indoor masking by all students, 2 and older, staff, teachers, and visitors, K through 12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. So the word universal, to me, is everybody. It's not teachers vaccinated, unvaccinated, or anything. And to me, it's all teachers.
And if you read why they are recommending that, it's because the people that are vaccinated still are contracting the Delta variant. They're just not getting as sick. They also are able to spread the Delta variant without getting sick to those that are unvaccinated. So that's why they're asking for a universal. Because even if I'm vaccinated, but I have had contact with a COVID person, and I don't even on the basis that I got my class to those unvaccinated.
Like this is gonna change next week, or it could change. Let's go with the survey, see what people say, and let's talk about it again next week. We all understand what we're at. We can keep going round and round and say, no mask, this, that.
And I think that,
that's gonna be huge.
yeah, and I think that where we should end up is something for all. And not, I hate to do the 12 and under only, because I turned 13 today, but I'm still in the same classroom with everybody else. It doesn't make
You have
sense
to
to
be
me.
consistent.
Because you know that 13-year-old isn't vaccinated on his 13th birthday.
Yeah, I wish we were.
I just think we need to be full. It takes us out of the liability of having to close or not.
Takes us out of liability, but
Well,
I guess that's falling on deaf ears.
I don't think it's hard to learn. I'm not.
So
People
as a
think-
parent, you can make, in your living room, you can make that decision. And that's how we should approach this for every student that goes to the school.
And then 60% of our students don't show up with masks. And now he has a problem.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying. And where we've had issues last year wasn't even in the classroom, it was athletics. So, I think it's as best we can do, and we'll still be.
Well, they are still not play, you're not required to wear.
I understand that, but, that's still, and then people are gonna walk out of school, go to the park, or go see a movie. But I think it's our responsibility while people are in our, at that time, under our rules, that we should be as safe as possible, because the last thing we need is to be schooling from home. I think that was the worst outcome from last this. We're not doing a good job at school.
Whatever we gotta do.
No child school has the ability or the support structure in a home trying to do school. I think that's all of us would not have that.
So if I'm sorry, Jane, we, masks, what are we gonna do when it's the first football game?
That's a dumb door guideline.
That's on another guideline.
these are.
The
indoor.
CDC is only talking about inside.
Oh, okay,
Not to say we won't be there, but
again,
right now we're talking about
Again.
indoor.
by that time, could be mandated,
Girls volleyball.
Agreed, we're gonna have to watch it.
right?
And they're also saying something about the substantial spread based on county, which I think we're in there now, but that could change. It could go less or more, and then we're in a different situation. I think too, whatever we do decide to do, it is based on data. It's based on some sort of substantial spread from some account somewhere, that it isn't just willy-nilly moving. Because I do think like Beaver County and Butler County and Allegheny County, and so like we do have different, we're gonna have different, community spread and outbreak levels. So if we're sitting in Allegheny County and it isn't a problem, where there isn't as much of an issue, then we can just, relieve some of these issues, these requirements, if we do go down that road.
So on the survey, what's your office?
In person or sign.
I don't think, no, I thought your survey is about masks.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Well,
Your survey is about masks.
the first question is not mask. Well, ultimately, you want to make sure you coming back in person, or you taking advantage of taking sign.
I thought we were.
I would assume that everybody's coming back in person.
What's the first
They've already
question?
signed up.
We still have kids sign up, and so.
What is that?
So the question is, are we going to call it universal mask mandate versus non-optional mask mandate? Are we going to have restrictions on vaccinated versus unvaccinated age?
No, we're not that. We're actually following what the, what, you remember the exact verbiage, Dr. Solomon, that we put into that survey? It was one, either we go universal mask and we don't quarantine and we don't close, or we go optional and these things are in effect.
Is that the first question?
That's the first question.
So you're telling me, no matter how many kids catch COVID, as long as we got masks on, we don't have to close.
Until they change.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the
You'll close.
exception.
If you hit a threshold, you will close.
Can I ask a question? Will we know who has COVID?
If we go through contact tracing and Allegheny
If we
County.
don't, so if we don't have. Oh, I see.
The only way we find out right now if someone has is if Allegheny County contacts us, not because they don't tell us.
We're still gonna require sort of, don't come to school sick. When you wake up, take a temperature, make sure you're
It's
feeling
an
right.
attendance policy.
And students will still have their laptop and an opportunity to log in, school G, get their assignments, if they are home, so they don't feel compelled to come to school.
How quick is the turnaround when we handle this?
Survey's ready to go.
Okay.
I just want to have this conversation first. Before we put it out.
We'll have the results ready.
We'll give you an update on Monday, then we progress and keep updating.
Will we base it on just how many answered? You know what I mean? Do we need a certain threshold of people who answered?
That's on me. It's not determining our decision, it's just,
Yeah, you're supposed to vote on it.
It's data,
yeah, just something.
I was just thinking 20% answer.
that's actually pretty
80%
good
no.
for a survey. I'd be surprised if we get 25%. Yeah, well, is there gonna be an all-call that goes out or something for the surveys?
I got emails on both sides.
I am too.
Everybody's
I don't
have these conversations,
I know what they're at.
Nobody wants to be where we're at right now.
Tony's passionate on one end, I'm passionate on the other.
It's
I
a
still love them,
Yeah.
it's just, you gotta.
So-
I'm glad I'm between you
If
two.
you don't, if you don't know what to say, then follow the agency that provides it for you, that's qualified to make the decision. That's pretty simple in my eyes.
So we'll get the survey out tomorrow, we'll get the all-call taken care of, and we'll move on from there. That is all I have for committee.
Did we not do it, I missed it, first one?
That's that, it's executive.
Steel Center, Mrs. Costello.
A new and exciting school year is here. Enrollment for this year is fantastic. 849 students enrolled across our program with the successful addition of exercise science, and veterinary assistant, and medical professions. New student orientation will be on Thursday, August 19th, 2021, and classes will begin for all students on Wednesday, August 25th. Still Center's 2021-22 Health and Safety Plan was approved at the August board meeting. The plan provides for full 5-day in-person instruction for students enrolled in one of our programs for the 21-22 school year. We are prepared with 2 alternative scenarios in the event federal, state, or local government forces a change to our operating model. The current plan does not include a 100% remote option for students as was available last year. Students will continue to be engaged in an instructional activities using the Canvas Learning Management System. On July 20th, a special board meeting was held to review the updated Still Center facility study prepared by HHSDR Architects and to discuss various options available to fund this project. The meeting was very well attended with 9 of the 11 districts represented by board members, and in addition by 4 district superintendents. We are moving forward with further discussions and planning at upcoming meetings on the best avenue to make these renovations a reality. Now, when we go in the back room, I have a feasibility study book for each one of you to look over. At this time, Still Center has no masks unless the CDC, local, state, or federal comes up with something else. Remember, this is August 5th.
Thank you, Ms. Costello. 17, solicitors report.
Report will be given in executive session, thank you.
Ms. Costello, could you also bring that next week?
Yes, thank you.
18, old business. 19, new business. 20, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Mrs. Costello, second by Mrs. Hagar. Meeting adjourned.